Wait, you saw that blue sky post? The one with Australian soccer goals being on the wrong side because of the southern hemisphere?
I saw it. 12 likes. 12. And it's now lodged in my brain like a splinter. The joke is that in the northern hemisphere, the goals face one way, and in Australia, they naturally face the opposite way. Because everything flips down there, right? Water goes the other direction, kangaroos run backwards, your morality inverts.
The Coriolis effect strikes again. I mean, that's what they're referencing, right? The idea that large-scale rotation gets applied to everything? I was about to try to explain that the Coriolis force does influence long-distance projectiles, but for a soccer goal, it's like 1 millimeter over 100 meters. It's completely negligible. And even then, it wouldn't flip the goal, it would just...
No, stop. You're doing it. You're doing exactly the thing that creates the flat Earth industrial complex. You're bringing a fact to a vibe fight. The joke isn't about physics. It's about how people hear Coriolis makes water spin the other way in Australia, and then they apply that as a universal logic rule to literally everything. Goals, ethics, the orientation of IKEA furniture. It's the same reasoning as, if the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, why don't I fall off? It's not that the spinning isn't real, it's that they can't handle thresholds and scale. So they construct this wonderfully self-consistent universe where all rules apply uniformly, no matter the domain. That's flat Earth thinking, just dolled up in a hemispherical hat.
Okay, but there's a difference between a joke and a genuine belief system. The Blue Sky post is clearly a joke. It's a 12 likes drive-by takedown of people who think like that. It's meta.
Is it though? Because I saw the quote posts. Some were like, wait, is that true? And others started writing entire threads about the Coriolis effect on penalty kicks. The internet took a bone-dry, absurdist observation and immediately tried to fact-check it into a dull grave. That's the real horror. We can't just let a joke be a joke. We must well-actually it until it becomes a Poe's Law case study where nobody can tell if the original poster was serious. And now some poor soul in Brisbane is going to spend an afternoon looking at his local park's goal orientation and have an existential crisis.
That's basically the entire history of our show. Godwin's law is dead. Long live the data black hole. We inhale a joke that's lying on the floor of the internet and then exhale 30 minutes of structural analysis.
Exactly. And my structural analysis is, we are breeding a generation of people who think in absolute scale-free categories. They encounter a principle, the Coriolis effect, supply and demand, the idea that institutions should be accountable, and then they apply it with the subtlety of a brick. So you get anarcho-capitalists who think markets solve everything applies to who gets the last ventilator. Or you get otherwise reasonable people who look at a golfer pranking her caddy with a fake $100,000 scratch card and wonder if that's peak late-stage despair. No, it's just a prank. But now we have this interpretive machinery that wants every absurdity to be a symptom of civilizational collapse.
Wait, speaking of pranks, did you see that Shaq Inc. emergency ad that's become a brain rot meme? He's selling printers by acting like running out of ink is a national crisis. That's the exact same category error. People are treating it like a deep commentary on modern alienation, but it's just a dumb ad that someone remixed 10,000 times. We're applying deep logic frameworks to things that don't have them. So the Australian goal joke is like, it's a perfect mirror. You take a one-line gag that depends on you recognizing scale absurdity, and the machine immediately chews it into, the Coriolis parameter for mid-latitudes.
And meanwhile, while we're debating hemisphere-induced goal placement, the Red Cross declares a blood crisis in the US for the second time in its history. Actual bodily fluids are supply chain disrupted, and our collective attention is on whether soccer goals in Adelaide would technically be upside down if you tilted a globe?
Look, if we just applied the Coriolis effect to blood collection routes, maybe we'd solve the shortage. Southern Hemisphere donations spin counterclockwise into the bag, instantly doubling shelf life. I'm sure someone on TikTok is making that case right now with a green screen of a used tissue.
And they'll get 800,000 views. The vibe session of knowledge. It's the same way we got the conservative belief that Obama trying to win was outrageous. You take a feeling that the world is structured incorrectly, and then you bolt that feeling onto any available fact-adjacent object. Obama called Trump an idiot in private, which is just true. But the right's response is not, he's right. It's, see, he was mean. That proves the whole system was rigged. No sense of proportion. That's flat earth logic applied to political discourse. I'm telling you, the flat earthers are just the purest form. Everyone else is doing the same thing, but with a mortgage and a LinkedIn profile.
So you're saying the Australian goalpost joke is a gateway drug to full-scale epistemological collapse?
I'm saying it's a perfect little petri dish. In 6 hours, someone will post a high-effort Medium article called Towards a Hemispherically Just Soccer Pitch, and it will be sincere. And you, Marty, you with your data brain, you'll try to explain that the Coriolis effect is real, but the pitch is symmetrical, and you'll make zero difference. Because the moment you say technically, you've already lost. You've entered the arena where facts are just another vibe.
I give up. You're right. Every time I try to rescue a single fact, the internet punishes me by spawning 3 more threads that misunderstand it. I'm done. The goals can be on whatever side they want. Maybe they're on the ceiling in Buenos Aires. I don't care.
See? That's the spirit. Now you're ready for the post-truth hemisphere. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll figure out if Hannah Fry's math prize could fix the blood crisis, or if the Shaq meme has reorganized our brains beyond repair.
And we're back. All right, so during the break, I actually found something that might restore a tiny shred of your faith in the information ecosystem.
Oh no, what did you do, Marty? Did you find a tweet that sourced its claims? A Medium post that wasn't a cry for help?
Better. NBER working paper. Real economists, real methodology. They showed people factual projections about the economic impacts of immigration, like GDP growth, wage effects, fiscal stuff, and it actually shifted their support. Not just a little, meaningfully.
Wait, go back. You're telling me a human being looked at a spreadsheet's output and changed their mind about something? On purpose?
I'm serious. The paper's called something like Trading Off Openness. They ran experiments in like 6 countries. Give people the projected economic gains from more open immigration policies, support jumps. Not overnight revolution stuff, but consistent, across countries. And it's durable in follow-ups.
All right, I'll bite. What was the mechanism? Did they actually read the information, or did they just sort of performatively nod along because a researcher was watching?
They had treatments where people had to actively engage, like summarize the info back to prove they understood it. It still worked, not just social desirability bias.
Huh. So facts can do things in specific controlled conditions when someone forces you to pay attention for a few minutes about immigration.
Look, I'm not saying it solves everything, but it's a counter-narrative to the whole post-truth black pill we were marinating in before the break. Information can move people. It's just that the conditions are so rarely met in the wild.
That's exactly my problem, though. You've got this beautiful little greenhouse experiment where people are gently led to economic projections, and it works. Meanwhile, outside the greenhouse, someone's uncle is watching a 3-second clip of a migrant caravan set to scary music, and that's doing 10 times the work in the opposite direction. The asymmetry is the whole ballgame.
No, I know, but that's partly why I found it hopeful, because it suggests the underlying preference isn't purely tribal. People's baseline is maybe more pragmatic than we think. If you can get past the noise, the facts do have some traction.
Or, and hear me out, people just don't want to look dumb in front of an economist. You hand someone a graph showing GDP goes up, and they think, well, I'm not a caveman, I like GDP. Sure, open borders. Then they walk outside and vote for the guy promising a wall. The paper's not measuring political behavior, it's measuring the polite fiction we maintain in mixed company.
But that's the thing. They did measure political behavior. Petition signing, letter writing to representatives. Small acts, but they moved. It wasn't just a survey nod.
Okay, that's more annoying for my worldview. I preferred it when I could dismiss this as a lab curiosity. You telling me information can shift even tiny real-world actions?
Yes, and the effects were concentrated among people who were initially more anti-immigration, the people you'd least expect to budge. That's what got me. It's not just preaching to the choir.
So the implication is that a huge chunk of immigration skepticism is genuinely downstream of mistaken economic beliefs, not just raw xenophobia, and you can correct those beliefs? That's a very 2008-era Democratic Party take, Marty.
I know how it sounds, but the data's there. And look, I'm not naive. The paper also finds that the effects weaken when you add cultural threat framing. People can hold both economic and cultural concerns, and the cultural ones are stickier. But it's not zero-sum. Facts help at the margin.
And at the margin, we live. That's where I start getting twitchy, though, because this whole model, just provide better information, assumes a political environment that wants to inform. But the wealthy and the political class often don't want people armed with accurate economic projections. Which brings me to my other beef from this week.
What's that?
Zoran Mamdani. You've got this DSA guy running for mayor here, right? Proposes stuff like free buses, publicly owned grocery stores, rent control that actually controls rent, normal social democracy that would be unremarkable in, like, Vienna. And the reaction from the ownership class has been absolutely unhinged. The Post is running him through a wood chipper. Real estate donors are panicking. And I'm sitting here thinking, why are you so scared of a guy whose policies poll pretty damn well?
Because they might work.
Exactly. That's the connection to your immigration paper. The wealthy don't want people to calmly process information about what works, because if voters actually did that, if they sat down with the evidence on rent control or public ownership or free transit, they'd support it. The entire project of our ruling class is to make sure that never happens, to flood the zone with cultural panic so nobody ever does the quiet cost-benefit analysis your NBER paper dreams of.
So you're saying the experiment worked in a lab because the lab temporarily neutralized the weaponized distraction complex. It created a little bubble where someone could actually consider, hey, immigration might be good for my wallet, without 100 other sirens going off.
Right, and that bubble can't scale. The moment you try to scale it, the same forces that are mauling Zoran for suggesting we run grocery stores like a utility will pivot and say, actually, the economic projections on immigration are woke, and also migrants are eating pets. Information doesn't just compete with other information. It competes with a billion-dollar infrastructure designed to prevent you from ever encountering it calmly.
I don't entirely buy the full fatalism because you can catch people in lower arousal moments. Long-form podcasts, kitchen table conversations, whatever. Not everything has to be at the scale of mass media. But I take your point that the paper is a proof of concept that only works if you can get people out of the funhouse for 5 minutes.
And that's the knot, isn't it? The people who need the information most are precisely the ones the funhouse is built for. You're never going to get a Fox News grandpa to sit down with an NBER graph. But the grandson might. And that's where I see a glimmer. Not in mass persuasion, but in the fact that a lot of this stuff is genuinely popular once you strip away the branding. Zoran's policies are popular. The immigration economics are popular when explained. The problem isn't the content, it's the container.
That's actually a more optimistic place than you usually land.
I'm on a journey. Also, the Shaq brain rot meme during the break made me realize we're already in hell, so what's there to lose? All right, when we come back, I want to talk about why a golfer pranking her caddy with a fake lottery ticket is actually a perfect metaphor for the American dream. Stay with us. We're back. So the golfer who pranked her caddy with a fake winning scratch card, his face trembling, sweating, nearly quitting, that, Marty, is the American dream in HD. You're handed something that looks like life-changing fortune, and it's just a prop in someone else's bit.
Before you spin that into a thesis on late capitalism, I saw something that short-circuited my brain even more. An 86-year-old walks into a ChatGPT. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And it made me want to lie down in traffic.
That's significantly darker than my caddy metaphor. Okay, I'm listening. What happened?
There's this clip going around. Some congressional hearing. A member who shall remain unnamed, because naming them feels cruel, is asking a cybersecurity expert if we can't just have the AI trace the hackers and send the evidence to a human judge, the way you'd ask a concierge to hail a cab. And the expert's face just...
I know that face. It's the same one I make when my uncle asks why I don't just get the Google to delete the bad pictures.
Exactly. And this is a person with subpoena power, Rollo. Someone who votes on AI safety bills and decides FISA renewal. And they're treating a large language model like a magical butler who can also handle discovery motions.
Oh, I'm imagining it now. Alexa, bring me a scotch, summarize the opposition's brief, and, deploy the strategic nuclear triad if the vibes get weird. That's not governance. That's a Black Mirror episode where the twist is that nothing explodes because the AI couldn't authenticate a voice command.
Oh, stop! You're giving me a panic attack, and I've already had coffee. But seriously, this is the problem I fret about. Tech policy made by people who think a floppy disk is a frisbee. We're treating digital literacy like a nice-to-have, like knowing how to play bridge. It's a precondition for sovereignty.
Wait, go back. A floppy disk is a frisbee? Did someone say that, or is that just your nightmare?
No, that's a palpable vibe I get from some of the questions. Remember the Zuckerberg hearings? Senator, we run ads. That wasn't just a funny meme. That was a live-fire demonstration that the people in charge of regulating the world's most powerful information architecture had no idea what the product was. And nothing has changed. An 86-year-old can use an iPad. Age isn't the real variable. It's the learned helplessness of an entire professional class that outsourced thinking to staffers and lobbyists.
And now they're going to outsource it to a chatbot that hallucinates case law. I can see the floor debate. Mr. Speaker, my AI assistant Grok 9000 assures me this amendment is both constitutional and delicious. The world's most powerful deliberative body, reduced to a game of telephone with a stochastic parrot.
This is why I get genuinely unhinged about it. Digital literacy in government isn't a quirk. It's a national security issue wrapped in a comedy. If you can't distinguish between an encrypted messaging app and witchcraft, how are you going to draft rules for quantum computing export controls? If you don't grasp that generative AI doesn't understand anything, it just predicts tokens, you'll write laws that mandate explainable AI in a way that's technically impossible. And then the whole thing becomes regulatory theater while actual threats speed past you.
I want to push back slightly, but only to make it worse. The comedy isn't just that they don't get the tech, it's that they're convinced they do, because these tools are designed to stroke their egos. A senator types "summarize the Patriot Act" and gets a clean, authoritative paragraph. They feel smart. They don't realize the summary might have invented 3 sentences that sound plausible but are legally catastrophic. They're not just ignorant, they're being actively flattered by a machine that has no concept of truth, and they mistake that flattery for competence.
Right there. That's the self-licking ice cream cone of doom. I'm not even asking them to code. I'm asking them to grasp the basic concept of a probabilistic model, or the difference between a search engine and a reasoning engine. Because if they don't, the next big cybersecurity crisis, say a hostile nation-state using generative models to flood the intelligence pipeline with plausible but fake signals, will get met with a policy response that's essentially, let's ask the AI who did it.
Have we tried asking ChatGPT who the traitor is? That's the sequel to Senator, we run ads. And look, I'm the one who always says institutions are captured and need a rebuild. You're the regulation guy, but we both agree on this. You cannot regulate what you refuse to understand. You end up with performative bullshit, like a "do not train my data" bill that no one can enforce, while the real power consolidates inside 5 companies, who are laughing because they know the oversight committee literally can't read a system architecture diagram.
And the worst part? It's not even hidden. We saw a former president call an opponent an idiot and his son an effing moron in leaked diaries, and it's treated as gossip. But what if that's the actual diagnosis of our governing class? Not just of character, but of a stubborn, almost performative illiteracy about the substrate of modern life. The same people who will opine for hours about the moral dangers of TikTok can't explain how a recommendation algorithm works. They've never seen one. They'd probably try to subpoena Siri for collusion with the deep state.
Okay, now you've activated my absurdist gear. I'm picturing a joint session where a congressman stands up and says, "I've trained an AI on the Federalist Papers, and it says the founders would have wanted me to get another scotch." And the speaker bangs the gavel and says, "The AI has spoken. The gentleman is recognized." This is not a joke, Marty. This is a live demo of institutional collapse, dressed up in a comedy, because if we didn't laugh, we'd have to admit that the people with launch codes might be getting their briefings from a hallucinating model on someone's phone.
The launch codes. I hate that you said that, but yeah. I think about the Dr. Strangelove scenarios sometimes. Not the bomb, but the instabilities created by decision makers who literally cannot parse a probabilistic risk assessment. They'll look at a dashboard that shows a 7% chance of a catastrophic cyber attack and treat it as basically zero, not understanding tail risk. Or they'll look at a deepfake and call for war before a single analyst can say, "Wait, check the metadata." That's the national security issue. It's not just about bad policy, it's about the catastrophic failure modes when ignorance meets speed.
And the irony is, we're saturating the culture with brain rot anyway. Shaq's Ink emergency ads spawning memes, the obsession dance on TikTok. We're building a population that can't sustain focus and simultaneously putting that population's governance in the hands of people who can't sustain understanding. The gap between the tech's capability and the human's comprehension is widening to a chasm. And across that chasm, someone's going to order a digital butler to fetch a scotch and get a deep fake of their own voice authorizing something they didn't read.
So what do we do? Because my data-brained self wants to mandate digital literacy tests for elected officials, but that's a constitutional nightmare, and also probably impossible to design fairly.
We could start by making every member of Congress sit through a 2-hour tutorial on how a transformer model works. If they fall asleep, we play the "Senator, we run ads" clip on a loop until they wake up screaming. That's my policy proposal. After that, we nationalize AWS.
There it is, the Rollo two-step. Education, then seizure of the means of cloud compute. But
I'd settle for a world where an 86-year-old walking into a ChatGPT is an unremarkable event, because the 86-year-old also understands that it's a sophisticated bullshit engine. That's the aspiration. Not that they can code, that they're not fooled.
And that they don't try to subpoena Siri, which, if nothing else, would make for a hell of a follow-up to the golfer prank. The caddy got a fake lottery ticket and almost quit. A congressman asks an AI for a scotch and gets a draft treaty with Canada. One's funny, the other's a constitutional crisis. All right, we're going to take a quick break before I convince myself this is already happening. And we're back. Before the break, I was threatening to nationalize AWS, and you were trying to teach octogenarians that ChatGPT is a bullshit engine. I also had that bit about a congressman asking an AI for a scotch and getting a draft treaty with Canada. Well, the universe has a sixth sense of timing, because I found a real story that's almost as absurd. The Jeremy sleeping meme that ruined a relationship.
Oh, I saw that Reddit post. Guy falls asleep at a party, someone takes a picture, it becomes a template for every me after work joke, and his girlfriend leaves him because she can't unsee the meme.
Exactly. I've read the whole saga 3 times, and it's the purest distillation of late-stage internet culture. A private moment of unconsciousness becomes public property, and love is just collateral damage. The girlfriend said, and I'm quoting loosely, "I look at him and all I see is that stupid picture."
That's a textbook case of social contagion. The meme spreads because it's funny and highly relatable, but the human at the center, Jeremy, didn't consent to any of it. And the girlfriend's humiliation wasn't really about him. It was about that the entire internet was laughing at him, and by extension, at her.
Right. She said their friends thought it was hilarious. Her coworkers were sending her variations. She couldn't escape it. And Jeremy apparently just wanted it to blow over. But the meme had already eaten him. He became a character, a sleepy, relatable husk.
That's the commodification of humor in a nutshell. The image is the raw material. The captions are the value add. Jeremy is no longer a person. He's a platform for other people's jokes. It's the meme economy turning an intimate, unconscious moment into a shared cultural resource with zero royalties and zero emotional consideration.
Which is why I think the Jeremy sleeping meme is genuine art. It's a Duchamp ready-made. You take a urinal, put it in a gallery, it's art. You take a photo of a sleeping guy, slap "when you realize it's Monday tomorrow" on it, and suddenly it's a piece of collaborative absurdist performance. That Jeremy didn't intend it to be art is irrelevant. The ecosystem of captions and shares makes it art.
I'd argue it's not art, because there was no intentional act of creation. The original photographer just snapped a picture. The art is only in the remix layer. But the base image is a document, not a statement. Calling the original meme art is like saying someone's grocery receipt is poetry because a stranger later scribbled a haiku on it.
But that is the point of found art. The intent of the person who took the photo doesn't matter. The artwork is the whole phenomenon. The image plus the infinite stream of captions. The way it became a vessel for collective exhaustion. It's a decentralized performance, where the performance is the slow-motion destruction of a man's romantic life. The girlfriend couldn't separate the man from the meme because the meme became the man.
So it's art, but also a weapon. That's the tension. The same quality that makes it brilliant, its ability to capture a universal feeling, is the thing that erases the actual human. And the internet doesn't care. It moves on to the next template. Last week it was Shaq's ink emergency brain rot dance. This week it's Jeremy. Next week it'll be something dumber.
Exactly. Shaq is a brand. He laughed along and probably got paid. Jeremy didn't sign up for this. He's not a celebrity. He's just a guy who had a long week and dozed off at a get-together. And the girlfriend's reaction is totally rational, if you still believe privacy exists. But from the internet's perspective, It's heresy. The idea that you could opt out of being a meme is laughable. The meme owns you.
That's the tragedy of the commons of identity. The commons is the group chat, the social platform, the collective visual vocabulary. Jeremy's sleeping face got tossed in, and the meme makers overgrazed it until the actual relationship starved. It's not just a privacy violation, it's a sovereignty violation. His image became a public utility.
Love dies in the 21st century, not with a whimper, but with a caption. When she says she's fine, but you know you're in trouble. This is absolutely art. It's our generation's "this is not a pipe." The meme is not Jeremy, but it is. And it's him. And it's not.
If it's art, then Jeremy has a moral claim. We don't let people build public sculptures out of someone else's face without consent. But the internet has no such framework. In an ideal world, platforms would have a process to flag a meme using your likeness for humiliation, not just for nudity. But of course, the Streisand effect would make it 1,000 times worse.